people personally think like, oh, it's just for aesthetics. I think there's a more nefarious reason for it. And I think that nefarious reason isn't that like they're sending, weapon shipments through the pier. That's silly. I think you're wrong about that. I think the real nefarious reason is that it has to be, there has to be something tangible that they can point to say Israel is trying its best to bring in aid. Okay? I think that's what it is. Because otherwise, there is no ass covering that you can give Israel in this situation. If there's no other way of entry, if there's no other entry for aid, and Israel controls all of the aid that goes in, then it's directly in the hands of Israel, which is a violation of human rights law. Not letting in aid is such a direct violation of human rights law and an act of egregious collective punishment that even the guy, the Holocaust survivor dude who created
Dad, what the?
But also someone who was against the ICJ court case. Okay, post October 7th, he openly recognizes
right here.
that he was wrong and has changed his mind on Israel's actions. Okay? The dude who created the human rights law, who said he was against the South African ICJ court case against Israel doing a genocide, said, no, now I believe Israel is doing a genocide. Why? Because Israel is refusing to send in aid to Gaza. Because that is a clear-cut, definitional violation of international rights, human rights, okay? There is no other way to go around it. And that is a direct violation of the Leahy law in this country. Okay?
You gonna play that, Gary Larson?
We have a law in the books that if a country is in direct violation of human rights law, international humanitarian law, they cannot use weapons. And I personally think that's why they wanted to hold on to the fucking pier so they could say, oh, well, Israel is trying to make an honest effort to actually. Why isn't anyone doing anything then if they're directly violating human rights? No, I'm saying like even they have to cook the books a little bit. Okay, obviously they don't give a shit about Israel violating human rights law, humanitarian rights. I mean, it's not actually about the morality of it; it's the legality of it. Okay.
Yeah, next game is the last game. In the next game, good job!
Anyway, for people who are still trying to bait me at the top of the hour, I already ran the 3-minute ad break, guys. So stop. I know, it was because someone tried to bait me literally 8 minutes before the top of the hour.
Woo! Oh my God, Ross,
That really doesn't add up. The State Department already doctored a report saying Israel wasn't doing human rights violations. No. Specifically about American weapons being used during Israeli hostilities that may or may not violate international humanitarian law. In and of itself also said, well, we still need Israel to conduct personal self-investigations. They may have done war crimes with our weapons. What I'm talking about is something different. Obviously, there's a lot of rules in conducting yourself in war. There are rules about what targets you can hit. There are rules about what the civilian casualty to like enemy combatant casualty percentages need to look like. Israel's violating all of them. That's one thing. But there's also another side. When you are the dominant force, when you're the belligerent, you, for example, like safe zones, right? If you design a safe zone, there are very specific qualifications that you need to uphold for said safe zone. which is why Israel doesn't say it's a safe zone, but says it's a safer zone. Okay? Because a safe zone means there's clean water there. A safe zone means that it will not be attacked. Okay? Israel knowingly will not call it a safe zone because they know they're going to, you know, eventually blow it up like they did in Rafah. Okay? Another major no-no is obviously refusing to let aid in. Because aid is going to the civilian population.
I can't do it.
And if you're stopping aid from going into a civilian population, then it's over. You are in direct violation of international human rights laws. Yesterday was leaked by Channel 12 that leading national and the hostage family's conversation is going on as well.
Hundreds of thousands of temporary shelters, including housing units, would be delivered by the international community. All that and more would begin immediately. During the 6 weeks of phase 1, Israel and Hamas will negotiate the necessary arrangements to get to phase 2, which is a permanent hostility. Now, the move from phase 1 to phase 2. Israel will want to make sure its interests are protected. But the proposal says the negotiations take longer than 6 weeks for phase 1. The ceasefire will still continue as long as negotiations. In the United States, Egypt and Qatar will work to ensure negotiations keep going. All agreements, until all the agreements are reached and phase 2 is able to begin. Then phase 2 will be the exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. Israeli forces will be as long as Hamas lives up to its commitments. Temporary ceasefire will become, in the words of the Israeli proposal, the cessation of hostilities permanently. End of quote. Cessation of
It's crazy, man. It's verbatim the fucking Hamas proposal all the way back in February. During the first 45-day phase, all Israeli women hostages, males under 19, the elderly and sick would be released in exchange for female and underage Palestinian security prisoners in Israeli jails. Israel would withdraw troops from the populated areas. Implementation of the second phase would not begin until the sides conclude indirect talks over the requirements needed to end the mutual military operations and return to complete calm. The second phase would include the release of the remaining male hostages and full Israeli withdrawal from all of Gaza. Bodies and remains would be exchanged during the third phase. By the end of the third phase, Hamas would expect the sides to have reached an agreement to an end to the war. The terror group which governs Gaza said in an addendum that the proposal sought to release 1,500
Yeah, man, I'm crying.
wanted to select from a list of Palestinians serving life sentences. The truce would also increase the flow of food trucks and other humanitarian aid to Gaza at a rate of no fewer than 500 trucks per day. Lebanese news outlet Al Akbar, thought to have ties to Hezbollah, also said it has seen a counterproposal from Hamas, apparently including an addendum with far greater detail on the first phase of the proposal. If this deal that Biden is presenting to you seems familiar, it's because it's verbatim almost. Here's what Hamas said, by the way, after this deal. Hamas issued a statement saying it looks positively at what was included in President Biden's speech, mainly its call for a permanent ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, reconstruction, and an exchange of prisoners. The movement affirms its position of readiness to deal positively and constructively with any proposal based on a permanent ceasefire, reconstruction, and the return of the displaced to all their places of residence, and the completion of a serious prisoner exchange deal if the occupation declares its explicit commitment to that. So what happened in the time frame between February 7th or whatever and now? Well, thousands of more Palestinians were ruthlessly slaughtered. Thousands of Palestinian homes were bombed into oblivion. And Rafah were mercilessly executed with American weapons. And During that time frame, domestic pressure increased, international pressure increased. The ICC openly came out with a court case against the war cabinet, or at least two prominent members of the war cabinet in Israel. Biden even suggested a red line that he never really enforced and lied about enforcing.
He said he's doing them right.
Even stronger than the Biden red
No,
line,
sir.
the Rafah red line, which will never Why is America coming out with
I don't even
this?
have to hold it.
This is the question. This is the question at hand. It's crazy because they've been saying they've been a million war cabinet meetings of BB being as clear as possible. Y'all do not have the mandate to end the war. We're not ending the war. It's not happening, guys. And it's all over Israeli media in general. Biden is counting on that reporting staying neutralized. Once again, Biden is coming out with a statement. And for the most part, as far as we've seen, the Israeli government has said the
Rồi
exact
con này làm
opposite of
A8.
said statement. So we'll see. Not, I guess, in general. There's a statement made from Bibi after Biden's speech. Biden's speech about The statement issued immediately after U.S. President Joe Biden's speech calling on Hamas to accept the latest hostage deal proposal and Israel's leader to stand behind it. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says the Israeli government is united in the desire to return our hostages as soon as possible and is working to achieve this goal. Except yesterday, the hostage family's working negotiator, this is from yesterday, or well, I guess this morning, Israel won't end war for deal to free all hostages. Prime Minister's aide said to tell families. National Security Advisor Hanegbi says it will be possible to free female, elderly, and sick hostages in the coming months, but warns effort to release remainder unlikely to succeed. So why is National Security Advisor Zachi Hanegbi saying this moments before Benjamin Netanyahu says, oh yeah, we will actually release the hostages? The current government will not agree to end its war against Hamas in exchange for the release of all the remaining hostages held by the terror group, he said. The message made during a heated meeting during which Hanegbi reportedly rebuked and insulted the relatives of hostages, apparently calling them drama queens and yelling at them. Appeared to be the first time a top Israeli official was quoted making such an admission. That's really interesting, because the actions are, in my opinion, way more powerful than the supposed quotes that they would make directly to fucking hostage families. Because Benjamin Netanyahu can wear the fucking yellow ribbon that means, like, you know, release our hostages, bring them home all day, every day, but his actions say something entirely different. He's trying to kill them for the crime of being next to Palestinians. And killed them directly. As we know, 3 of the Israeli hostages were fighting for their lives, and the IDF shot and killed them. One of them literally escaped the shooting and was yelling at them like, I'm Israeli, please don't shoot. And they killed him anyway because he didn't sufficiently look Israeli enough, I guess.
Really careful, not yet. Roger.
So it seems like their actions are claim to care about, because hostages were never an actual thing that the Israeli government cared about, because Israel hates Arabs and Palestinians more than they love security for Israeli Jews. Okay? The quicker you understand this, the easier it is for you to make sense of it all. Where can I read about that? Which one? The fact that Israel directly shot 3 hostages, aside from bombing however many hostages that have been killed so far? Just Google it.
What are you doing here? Hey. Oh my goodness.
I don't understand what Hamas did the game with this. I'm going to explain that in a second. Not only that. But you didn't have to look that far. You didn't have to look for a month of Israeli siege on Gaza to start It was to start immediately bombing Gaza. That should have been a pretty clear indication that they do not give a fuck about the hostages. And then further reporting came out that Israeli helicopters shot at both hostages and also those with Palestinian, like directly Israeli citizens and Palestinians that had Palestinian resistance groups that had taken hostages. Israeli tanks rolled into kibbutzim and blew up houses full of Israelis that were sheltering from the attack.
Go ahead, tell Bravo Wade McKenna. All right, let's get William out of there.
The Hannibal Directive, which dictates that a live hostage in the hands of the Palestinian resistance is far too valuable, and therefore they're better off dead, which is why Israel's own military objective is to kill the hostages alongside government because a hostage means there's a bargaining chip, a point of power to negotiate. Because the family members selfishly will go and
hit the
pressure the
gas pedal
to return the hostage.
What are you doing?
Just something to consider. The Hannibal Directive is an anti-Semitic hoax. This message is brought to you by the ADL.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, totally. As far as the question goes, where was it? I don't understand what Hamas stands to gain with all this. Well,
Come on, you got it!
October 7 was far more successful from their vision, from their perspective, than they ever thought it would be. That's number one. Number two is they thought they would knack a couple people in the forward operating base that they went into, or the surveillance base that they went into, kill a couple IDF people, and then quick in and out 20 to 50 IDF hostages, and they're done. The security failure on October 7 caused tremendous commotion inside of Israel, allowed even criminal elements to enter into Israel proper, allowed random Palestinian civilians to enter Israel proper. And the death toll was far larger, including the death of 8 okay? Nobody expected Israeli citizens and
Hit the
Hamas and
gas pedal.
did not expect there to be
What are you doing?
Earlier in October, one of the major points of contention for me, something that I regularly talked about, was the arrogance, the hubris of the Zionist entity causing its own demise, both politically at the global stage with the amount of bloodshed that they've caused, that they think will not help them lose favor in the international. People personally think like, oh, there's this terrorist thing. I think there's a more nefarious reason for it. They're sending, weapon shipments for the tourists. That's crazy. I think you're wrong about that. I think the real nefarious reason is that it has to be, there has to be something tangible to say Israel's trying its best to bring in aid. Okay? I think that's what it is. Because otherwise, there there is no ass covering that you can give Israel in this situation. If there's no other way of entry, if there's no other entry for aid, and Israel controls all of the aid that goes in, then it's directly in the hands of Israel.
Oh, I missed
Which
it.
is a violation of human rights law. Not letting in aid is such a direct violation of human rights law and an act of egregious collective punishment that even the guy, the Holocaust survivor dude who created the Human Rights Watch, who was not only a Zionist, but also someone who was against the ICJ court case, okay, post-October 7th. He openly recognizes that he was wrong and has changed his mind on Israel's actions. Okay? The dude who created the Human Rights Watch, who said he was against the South African ICJ court case against Israel doing a genocide, said, no, now I believe Israel is doing a genocide. Why? Because Israel is refusing to send in aid to Gaza. Because that is a clear-cut, definitional violation of international rights, human rights, okay? There is no other way to go around it. And that is a direct violation of the legislation. We have a law in the books that if a country is in direct violation of human rights law, international humanitarian law, they cannot get weapons. I personally think that's why they wanted to desperately hold on to the fucking pier so they could say, oh, well, it's an effort to bring aid, actually. Why isn't anyone doing anything then if they're directly violating human rights? No, I'm saying like even they have to cook the books a little bit. Violating human rights law, humanitarian rights. I mean humanitarian law. I'm not saying they give a shit about the humanity of it. It's not actually about the morality of it. It's the legality of it. Okay?
Wow.
At the top of the hour. I already ran the 3-minute ad break, guys. I know. It was because someone tried to divert me literally 8 minutes before the top of the hour. That really doesn't add up. The State Department already doctored a report saying Israel was in human rights violations? No. That report that the State Department came up with was specifically about free large being used during and that's why you don't snap it. Whoa! International humanitarian law or may constitute war crimes. That report in and of itself also said, well, we still need Israel to conduct personal self-investigations. They may have done war crimes with our weapons. What I'm talking about is something different. Obviously, there's a lot of rules in conducting yourself in war. There are rules about what targets you can hit. There are rules about what the civilian casualty to like enemy combatant casualty percentages need to look like. Israel's violating all of them. That's one thing. But there's also another side of this. When you are the dominant force, when you're the belligerent, you, for example, like safe zones, right? If you design a safe zone, there are very specific qualifications that you need to uphold for said safe zone, which is why Israel doesn't say it's a safe zone, but says it's a safer zone. Okay? Because a safe zone means there's clean water there. A safe zone means that it will not be attacked. Okay? Israel knowingly will not call it a safe zone because they know they're going to, eventually blow it up. Okay? Now, another major no-no is obviously refusing to let aid in. Because aid is going to end the civilian population. Aid is going to a civilian population. And if you're stopping them from going into a civilian population, then it's over. You are in direct violation of international human rights laws. Yesterday, it was leaked by Channel 12 that Bibi's NatSec Council head, Zahi Hanegbi, told the hostage... Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. The hostage family's conversation is going to be had as well. But let's continue.
All who need it. Hundreds of thousands of temporary shelters, including housing units, will be delivered by the international community. All that and more will begin immediately. During the 6 weeks of Phase 1, Israel and Hamas would negotiate the necessary arrangements to get to Phase 2, which is a permanent hostility. Now, I'll be straight with you. There are a number of deals to negotiate to move from Phase 1 to Phase 2. Israel will want to make sure its infrastructure is ready. But the proposal says the negotiations take longer than 6 weeks. For Phase 1, the ceasefire will still continue.
Einfach richtig eingekackt. Oh!
Was? To ensure negotiations keep going. All agreements, all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. Israeli forces will withdraw from Gaza. And as long as Hamas lives up to its commitments, the temporary ceasefire will become, in the words of the Israeli proposal,
Crazy, man. It's ridiculous. Hamas proposal all the way back in February. During the first 45-day phase, all Israeli women hostages, males under 19, the elderly and sick would be released in exchange for female underage Palestinians in Israeli jails. Israel would withdraw troops from populated areas. Implementation of the second phase would not begin until the sides include indirect talks over the requirements needed to end the mutual military operation and return to complete calm. The second phase would include the release of the remaining male hostages and full Israeli withdrawal from all of Gaza. Bodies and remains would be exchanged during the third phase. By the end of the third phase, Hamas would expect the sides to have reached an agreement to an end to the war. The terror group, which governs Gaza, said in an addendum that the proposal sought to release 1,500